In a live music venue, you'll come across lots of different types of microphones. It can seem intimidating at first, but in my experience, the selection is usually pretty standard. If you're new here, I'm Andrew and I'm a live sound engineer. We're going to go through every mic in a venue mic locker, from regular dynamic mics to condenser microphones, and some less common, but common enough extras that you should know about. You'll learn what to expect and how to use each one of them. I'll even cover DI boxes so you've got a complete picture. Part of understanding mics is understanding their frequency response and how to EQ them. If you need help with your EQ, then check out my free guide, 3 Steps to Perfect EQ. I will leave a link to that in the description below this video. For now, let's dive in. Okay, let's start off with dynamic mics then. We're going to end up with loads and loads of SM58s. This is the workhorse of most venues. Maybe it's not the best vocal mic in the world, but it's the most common one. It's the one that everyone knows. You've probably seen this before. Use it on vocal. You can also use it on instruments in a pinch. I've used it on bass guitar amps before. I've even used it on electric guitar amps. It's essentially the exact same thing as an SM57, which we'll get onto in a second. There's the same capsule. If you just screw the pop shield off, it even looks almost identical. Take a look at that. But this is going to be the most common vocal mic that you find. Put it in front of a singer, they're unlikely to complain. If they do, they're likely to bring their own mic with them. Second most common microphone that you're going to find loads and loads of in any venue is SM57. SM57 is like your quintessential vocal mic. Like I just said, it has a really similar frequency response to the SM58, but we tend to use this a bit more on guitar cabs. I've also used it a lot on brass instruments, trumpets, saxophones, that kind of thing. It's my go-to mic on snare drum. Again, lots of people probably have different choices, but this is one you're guaranteed to find in every venue. So it's a mic that's worth getting used to. If you know what it sounds like, you're able to EQ it quickly and you're able to put it on a sound source and know roughly what's going to happen to that sound source. So instruments, loud instruments, brass instruments, bass guitar cabs, electric guitar cabs, snare drums, that kind of thing. These two are two that you should absolutely learn the frequency response of inside out. Learn how they sound. Very important. Next up is going to be a microphone for your kick drum. So in this venue that I'm in right now, we have the Audix D6. It's maybe a little less common than the Shure Beta 52. The Beta 52 is pretty much, in my eyes, the quintessential kick drum mic. I don't really use these kind of microphones on anything else except for kick drum. I have seen some people use them on like floor toms and stuff, but that's not really my thing. You recognize them, they're kind of usually bulbous and quite short like this. A D6, Sennheiser 602 is another similar one. Beta 52A is the kick drum mic from Shure that you're likely to see in most venues. One super common kick mic, which I neglected to talk about while I was in the venue, is the Beta 91A. This is what's called a boundary mic, right? Which means that it picks up just in a hemisphere, sort of half circle above the microphone itself. And we usually place it inside the kick drum. It gives a real snap as well as capturing a full range of sound. If I could only pick one kick drum mic to use, it would probably be this one. It is a condenser microphone, so it does need phantom power. But know that if you've got this microphone combined with a Beta 52A, you put the 91 inside the kick drum, put the 52 outside the kick drum, just at the sound hole, and blend the two of them together. Double check if you need to invert the polarity on one of the mics, but you will get a super thick, powerful drum sound with this. Next up, you're going to find some microphones that deal with toms. Most venues have 604s, I think that's the number of them. Here we're using Audio-Technica ATM 350s. You're going to find a microphone in the venue which is suited for toms and specifically for toms. It'll be small, low profile, and it'll have a clip on it so that you can clip it onto the rim of the tom and aim it at the drum itself. These are also good for things like saxophones and trumpets. You can clip them on the end of the, what's it called? The noise hole, for lack of a better word. Horn, I think is the word. But you're going to have some kind of clip-on microphone which is suited to toms, most likely. Another microphone that you might find in a venue, which I don't have here, is a Sennheiser MD421. I mostly use it on bass cabs and guitar cabs, and I'm sure people use it on toms. Next up, you're probably going to have some condenser microphones. Why? So that you can get overheads or hi-hats, or so that you can reinforce sort of more sensitive sounds. In this venue, we have DPA 2011s. I'm not sure that that is a typical choice for venues, though I have seen a few here in the city that have 2011s. These are really good, really transparent, quite flat frequency response. But nothing crazy, you know, it's a small diaphragm condenser mic. It's good for using on overheads or on hi-hats. It's quite discreet, small, black, isn't very visible. In other venues, you're probably going to come across an AKG C451B. That is the quintessential hi-hat mic. It's pretty much what everyone uses. I usually place it underneath the hi-hat, so it's again less obvious and it doesn't get in the way of things. You're also likely to find large diaphragm condenser mics, like these AKG C414s. I might use these on overheads or brass. They tend to have a slightly lower noise floor than small diaphragm condensers, but maybe that's just a myth that was true long ago that I am upkeeping. The thing with these guys is that they have switchable polar patterns. So you can change it to be a sort of hypercardioid mic if that's something that you need or want. They also have a filter on the back and a pad. So great for loud sound sources. Think trumpets and saxophones. In this venue, we also have some KM184s by Neumann. These are really, really lovely, detailed, small diaphragm condensers. Really nice on things like violin or other stringed instruments. We've got a few fancy things in here that your venue might have or might not have. They're common enough to mention, but I've been in plenty of venues that don't have anything like this. That is a KSM9 vocal microphone by Shure. This is a condenser supercardioid microphone, cardioid. I find it quite rich, it's quite a full frequency response. Use it on vocals, use it on nice singy vocals that are really, really dynamic. Don't use it on heavy metal. It's probably not going to represent screaming vocals very, very well. But if you see one of these, know that they are a kind of step above an SM58. If someone is really, really into their vocal performance and is really into singing and hitting all the notes, then I would recommend going for something like this over an SM58. But be aware, it is more sensitive. It's a completely different microphone. It will not sound the same. There's another microphone that you should know about that your venue probably won't have, but if you're dealing with people playing violins or trumpets or a lot of instruments, you're probably going to come across it. That is a DPA 4099. 4099 is like the quintessential clip-on microphone. It comes with all these different mounts that you can use to fix it to basically any instrument, you know, violins, violas, double bass, trumpets, saxophones, trombones, pianos, everything under the sun, and it comes with universal mounts as well. So you should know how to fix it to a few things, and that it's a condenser microphone and that it needs phantom power. Google it. If there's microphones that you don't know when you walk into a venue, if you pick up a microphone and it looks like a vocal microphone and you think, I've never seen this before, do yourself a favor, find the model of the microphone and Google it and read the data sheet. There is bound to be a manual for this microphone that will tell you what the frequency response is, what the polar pattern is, and what its intended use case is. Don't be afraid to Google the manual or something quickly on your phone and find out how to do it. Also, don't be afraid to ask musicians. You might think that you, as a sound engineer, need to know everything, but you really don't. A musician probably knows more about their instrument and their tone than you do. Maybe in the beginning you should know that popping in a 57 on a guitar cab is an okay idea. You should also know that using a Sennheiser 609 on a guitar cab is another alternative, and you should know the differences between those. But if someone comes in with a zither, then you're not necessarily expected to know how to mic that up. Once you've mic'd up a few zithers in your time, you will know how to mic up, but it never hurts to talk to the performer and say, hey, you probably know more about your instrument than I do. Where do you tend to mic up? And if they say, oh, I've never thought about it before, then you can just say, okay, where does the sound come from? Use your ears, listen to it, and try and place those microphones in a way that pick up that audio. Although not strictly microphones, a very important part of getting input into your system is DI box. So you need to know how to use the DI box and what a DI box is used for. In short, it's used for taking an instrument level signal, turning it into a microphone level signal, and then getting it into your mixer. Or mostly used for taking instruments that are on jacks and turning them into microphone cables so that we can get them into our mixer. The most important thing that you need to know is that there are two main types. There are passive DI boxes and there are active DI boxes. Either one will do in a pinch. You want to use active DI boxes on instruments like guitars and bass and things that generally aren't connected to power, and use a passive DI box on line level signals, things like keyboards, samplers, PC outputs, things that are connected to power and are sending a full level signal. Leave a comment down below, let me know what you find in your venues that you work in, and I'll leave a video up here that shows you how to mic and mix a drum kit. If it was useful, please subscribe to the channel. Otherwise, thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.